everybody. It's Yasmin Benoit and David J. I hope you've been having an amazing time at the UK Sexuality Conference 2020. This has gone really well, in my opinion. There's been so many amazing panels, so many great gatherings going on over on the Gather app. And myself and David J just wanted to close every don't know where he went.
We're getting a visitor. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we just wanted to close everything off, and also get some input from our lovely audience here. So over to you, David.
Yeah. So really exciting to be here. For those you know, I'm the founder of Asexuality. Oh, thank you so much. I've been active in this community for some time, and it's really deeply inspiring to me to see how we're all coming together to talk about all kinds of intersecting experiences, to talk about research, to talk about the issues that are most critical to our community right now. And the question that, and then great to see some of the comments in the side. The question that I've really been holding, that I'd love, Yasmin, to get your thoughts on, I'd love to share my thoughts, and I'd love to get thoughts from folks in the comments, is coming out of this gathering today, what would you like to see moving forward for the ACE community, in your immediate community, in your life? What's the one thing that you want to see happen coming out of today? Yeah, Yasmin, I'm curious for your thoughts. I know I've been mulling on this a lot too.
Well, I mean, I always felt like this year, I thought it was such a shame that with the pandemic, I felt like the ACE community, we were really getting to a point where we were starting to have more physical spaces, and we've been planning the conference since the beginning of the year, and there were a lot of things that I wanted to do activism-wise and things that we all wanted to do, and I kind of felt like a lot of projects and visibility stuff kind of was hindered by all the things going on this year. So it's really a testament to our perseverance and how tight we are as a community that we were still able to have an event like this and have such a good turnout, and everything went according to plan, and we were still able to unite and connect, especially with Gather. It's so cute. And I think that one thing that we should definitely keep going after this is continue to have these intersectional conversations, because I think that is something that we miss sometimes. I think it's easy to get a bit, kind of just comfortable, and I feel like we definitely need to keep the intersectionality going, keep amplifying marginalized voices within our community, particularly trans ACEs and ACEs of color. I think is really important. So yeah, those are some things that I would definitely like to see more of, and hopefully I'll see more of all of you people in the future.
I love some of the comments coming up, and I think I would really second that the work of the ACE community right now is intersectional work, and it's creating intersectional spaces. And I think one of the things that we've been pushed to do is that when we focus on offline organizing in particular spaces, we're organizing in space that have particular physical constraints. There's spaces that are accessible to certain kinds of people, and online environments still have issues around accessibility. But I think that I think that now is a time to be pushing ourselves to be thinking even more deeply about how we can be building space that pulls different kinds of people together. How we can, one second, sorry. I've got some kid noises going on. And that's the challenge that I take coming out of this, is just how do we create space in this time where more and more people are struggling, like many of us are sick, many of us are struggling deeply with mental health issues, many of us are struggling deeply economically, many are struggling with the intersection of a wide range of forms of oppression that are hitting people right now. It's more critical than ever that we be creating spaces for ACEs to come together. And I'm hugely grateful for everyone who's done the work of creating those spaces in this conference. And I really challenge any of you who like have the spoons for it to think about how you can be creating space. How you can, use platforms like Gather in your university or in your area to just have some sort of regular get together. How you can show up on some of the Discord servers where ACEs are happening. How you can put together a panel to talk about your own experience and the experience of folks in your community. Because what I've seen here and again and again and again throughout my history in ACE activism is that there are always people who are looking for that space to be pulled together. There are almost always people who are looking to show up, create the space to talk about it.
We'd be curious to know what some of your highlights were. To everyone who's been in the audience and has seen the panels, did you have anything that really stood out to you? I could see quite a few people saying how they really like the idea of online conferences, particularly for those who aren't out yet, IRL. So, and yes, I agree with that. I think we've reached a lot of people we wouldn't usually reach, and being able to get like a wider range of participation, especially internationally, which is a cool thing. It's the UK conference, but I feel like we've definitely branched out of the UK this year. The yacht dance party, yes. I mean, that's the closest to like a yacht party we're gonna get in 2020. So yes, a boat party. A romantic panel. I still need to tune into that one. Aces and Ethnicity panel. Thank you. Thank you. The older aces. Yes, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Gender identity panel. Cool. And Gather. Yeah, Gather is a really cool platform. I had never heard of it before this, and it reminds me of a combination between Club Penguin, Pokemon, and Habbo Hotel, and it's just really cute. It's a really fun way to kind of feel like you have a space to move around in as a tiny little avatar person. It's got a very 2007 energy as well, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that Asian disability discussion was able to happen as well.
Yes. And I see that the trauma panel on Gather. Yes.
Mm.
Research.
Awesome.
I know I need to get into the research one. I'm very curious about that one. Romantic relationships panel. It sounds like you guys pretty much liked everything. I feel like pretty much we like everything. Every panel. The neurodiversity one.
Mm-hmm. So what? And you're sort of naming the panels, but what's an idea? What's a specific thing that you heard that was validating, that was powerful in one of these panels or in a Gather discussion?
And thank you to those saying ace and ethnicity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, someone said they think that the research could be broader. Well, we can keep that in mind, or the researchers can keep that in mind for future reference.
Just to answer my own question, one thing that stood out of the many things stood out to me in the research panel was really talking about how someone asked how we can participate in research, and there was an idea that research is really about what our community is doing, that social scientists can only be studying what we as a movement organically put forward. And so expressing our identity, especially when the identity isn't being talked about or isn't being talked about enough, expressing our experiences, expressing our intersectional experiences is what allows researchers, what allows other people to be doing that work. And so it really was saying, to support research, tell your story and tell the parts of your story that aren't getting told. And I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting when people say activism is ahead of academia. Definitely. We're leagues ahead. Academia is quite slow in general. I think academia is always like a little while behind everything because they're peer reviewing everything 100 times before it comes out, and everything just takes a while in academia.
Oh, and there's a question about the intersection of ACE and Christian identity, and I think generally ACE identity and faith is a topic that I would love to see talked about more. I know it's something.
Isn't that coming up though? Isn't that actually, there is a gathering
is that the next gather? Awesome.
There's a religion and spirituality thing going on together after this. So you guys should tune into that one. You guys can have that conversation. Maybe we can do a panel on it next time if there's enough people that want to do that.
And slightly selfishly, but I would love to see a discussion about ace parenting and like ace past having kids in one's life, because that's been a big part of my journey and that's been amazing.
Yeah, we can do that next year.
Yeah. Ace Buddhist represent, nice.
So I said more aces from outside the US. Yeah, well, I mean, or did you say UK? I kind of missed what that said. Oh, from outside who aren't in the US. Well, I mean, I guess most of us were British for this. I think we still did a majority British panel, but in the Asexuality panel, we did have the insight of Pragati, who is in India. So that was cool to get that perspective. But then as a UK conference, we kind of tailor it more or to the UK in terms of panelists. But maybe if some Americans in a conference or any other countries, we can kind of work on that.
Yeah, and this idea that we can have conferences that are sort of synced to a particular community or ACE community and synced to a particular time zone, but accessible to everyone in the world, I think is really powerful. Because for me, being able to show up and understand what is happening in a UK context as someone living in California, and being able to understand, I know that there's been parallel conferences happening in India where there's some really fantastic organizing happening. I think it's so important for our community to see the different ways that ACE identity is getting explored around the world.
Yes, definitely.
Ooh, and then there's a comment about exploring other parts of the spectrum beyond just Demi and Gray. I think that's really interesting, and exploring all the different ways that the different manifestations of Demi and Gray identity. Because there's a lot of different ways it can show up. I think a lot of really powerful intersectional experiences there that that we don't talk about enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose.
Awesome, Deb. Thank you.
That's cool. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Exploring, we did have an aromantic one, didn't we?
We had an aromantic one. There wasn't one on asexuality in history, though. At the conference in New York last year, there was a phenomenal session where they just went through every mention of the word asexual in printed publications from the year, I think, like 1840 onward. And it was fascinating because a lot of it was used to attack feminists. Like it was a term that was used to dehumanize people when they wanted to dehumanize people, and how it was used was really interesting.
It's great to have you involved. Sounds fake, but okay.
I'm also curious, and I'm starting to see some people talk about this in comments. Are there ways of bringing people together, kind of creating ACE discussions, creating places where ACEs can come together that any of you are inspired about after this conference? Ooh, and education asexuality is another really interesting conversation. There's a whole set of discussions, I know when I was in New York, about ACE inclusive sex ed, where queer educators were coming together and talking about how to incorporate ACE experience both into sex ed and into other forms of education. And I haven't seen many other gatherings of teachers talking about ACE stuff outside of like GSA networks, but it's a thing that we need to be talking about more.
Yeah. Are there any more? Or yeah, it looks like a lot of people like
I see a lot of quick aside, since people seem into that idea. So because there's an ACE who works in New York City Hall, they actually passed legislation requiring ace-inclusive sex ed in New York City, and then we worked with the New York Department of Education on how to put recommendations in to the curriculum. And it was really, really cool because it dovetails with so many other messages around consent and not making assumptions about people that the DOE wants to give in sex ed. So I think it's a thing that like there's a lot of room for if we can advocate for it in education environments.
You should ask Michelle that.
Yeah.
You should ask Michelle Lynn that. I feel like they'd be able to tell you because they were just saying in the Ace ethnicity panel how they're translating things between Chinese and English. So that's definitely someone you should ask that question to, because I do not know anything about translations. But yeah, it was great to hear about all the things that you guys enjoyed about the conference and also what you would like to see more of in the future. I know there are so many online spaces right now because of the pandemic. I know there's ACEs on Discord. I know there's ACEs on Reddit and Facebook groups. I see many people on Instagram because that's my preferred platform. Lots of ACEs on Twitter. So I'm sure we're all going to keep in touch. We're going to keep seeing each other. And as you guys know, there's more going on Gather after this closes. So in about 5 minutes, there is the religion and spirituality Gather. And there's also an ACE Creators one. So I was going to pop in and say hi over there. And I'm sure that some other activists and creators probably will as well. And
then it came up on the bottom, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Ace History Day on the October 12th coming up. A thing to mark your calendars for. We were talking about Ace History, and that'll be a really fantastic place to come together and have those conversations.
Yes, definitely. So as we have about only a few minutes left, asexuality in the workplace would also be navigating pride in LGBTQ plus spaces as an asexual. Look up anything I've ever done. I talk about that all the time if you want some tips. I'm in those spaces all the time. But yeah, to close things off, because we are running out of time on here, I hope you have all had an amazing time at the conference. I'm so glad that we had such a great turnout. Everything went according to plan. This was a huge technical challenge. So I definitely want to thank all of the tech gurus that made this possible with StreamYard and YouTube and Gather and the moderators and the AVEN team and all of the wide range of panelists that we've had and all of those behind the scenes who have been making this possible. As Michael said in the beginning, we've had like over 70 people overall who made this occasion work, and that's not including the panelists, and that's not including all of you for tuning in and spreading the word. I'm constantly seeing things being tagged and shared, and it's been really amazing. So thank you all for promoting it and showing up, being so supportive. As you know, the videos of the panels are going to stay on YouTube. So if you missed anything, you can watch it all back and share it with whoever you want to. There's also, as I said, more stuff going on over on Gather. And I also wanted to remind everyone that there is a fundraiser for the conference so that we can keep putting on these kind of events, including in real life, off the virtual space. So there is a link down there. You can see it passing if you want to make any donations. It should be very helpful for us for funding future conferences. We're all volunteers here, but there is obviously expenses to doing all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that would be really helpful. And just, well, thank you all for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Davey? Are we good?
I think we're good. Yasmin, just thank you for hosting and for all of the work that you've done in pronoun ace visibility in, I think, moving ace visibility into an era that's really, really been needed, and for your work on the ace and ethnicity panel at the conference today. You've been such a phenomenal advocate and I think inspiration for me and for many of us. So thank you all.
Thank you. Coming from the ace godfather himself. Thank you. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff if it wasn't for all the activists that came before and paved the way, including you. So thank you very much. And hopefully, I'm sure we probably inspired a lot. There's a lot of budding activists I've seen here today who are asking about doing more in the activism realm. So it's been very awesome talking to everybody. Thank you so much. We're going to have to close here. Thank you all. See you over on Gather probably. Bye, everybody. Happy AceCon 2020.
Bye.